Sometimes as a judge, you just want to be a pretty little peacock and just do your peacock stuff and have somebody else press the buttons and do everything else, but it's not that way. Okay, we are currently live on YouTube. I'm calling the case of State of Georgia versus William Arnold. Mr. Arnold is charged in warrant number 2022 WA-01549 with committing the offense of theft by taking. And is that a misdemeanor or a felony?
This one, Judge, it's a felony.
Okay. And he's charged in warrant number 2022 WA-01550 with criminal damage to property in the second degree. Mr. Arnold is charged with in warrant number 2022 WA-01551 with use or possession of drug-related objects. And he is charged in warrant number 2022 WA-01552 with possession of tools during the commission of a crime. Mr. Arnold is represented here today by Ms. Pleasant, and the state is represented by Ms. Freeman. Ms. Freeman, you can swear in your witness and begin your direct examination.
Thank you. Officer Baker, would you raise your right hand? You swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of State of Georgia versus William Arnold will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
Officer James Baker with the Clayton County Police Department.
Sir, how long have you worked with the Clayton County Police Department?
Almost 10 years now.
So were you working with the Clayton County Police Department on January 12th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
On that particular day, did you respond to 5250 Frontage Road in reference to a suspicious person?
Yes, ma'am.
When you arrived at that location, who did you meet with?
I met with the complainant, Miss Merlene Scott.
Okay, and Officer Baker, your video went off. Okay.
Fixed it.
You said you met with the Merlene Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did Miss Scott tell you that what she had observed?
Miss Scott advised she had seen three males get underneath a F-150 or a pickup truck that was parked directly out in front of a business that she was doing security for.
What type of, or what was at this address?
It's the Express Bus Depot, like the Express MARTA kind of thing.
Okay, and you stated that Miss Scott was doing security at this location?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she a law enforcement officer?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so she was part of like a private security firm or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you got there, did you see the F-150 stated she saw people go under?
Yes, ma'am. It was still parked in front of the business.
Was anything, had anything been taken from the vehicle?
No, ma'am, it had not.
Okay. Was there any damage to the vehicle?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So after she told you that she saw these males go under the vehicle, then what did you do?
Miss Scott advised that the three males, one of them carried a large bag and the other one carried a large saw. Based on that, I knew it to be consistent with catalytic converter thefts. She's advised me that the three males ran into the wood line across the street, and then a short while later, she observed a white four-door sedan pull onto frontage road, come to a complete stop. The males jumped into the vehicle, and then the vehicle fled the location. So I canvassed the area to attempt to locate the vehicle in the area. I was one street over when I saw a white Toyota Camry pass by me heading away from the original call location. It matched the description of four-door white Toyota Camry. I turned around and initiated an investigative stop on the vehicle.
And how many people were in the vehicle?
3.
And who was the driver of the vehicle?
I believe his first name is Reginald Strozier.
And who else was in the vehicle?
The others were Arnold William, and I can't remember his first name. His last name is Al Shabazz.
Okay. And do you recall where Mr. Arnold was sitting?
Mr. Arnold was sitting in the front passenger seat.
So after you made this investigative stop, did you approach the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. After approaching the vehicle, did you speak with the driver first?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I initiated the traffic stop. I checked the vehicle tag. The registered owner came back with an active warrant. I made contact with the driver, who was Mr. Strozier. I asked Mr. Strozier for his ID. He advised that he did not have his ID, but he was the registered owner of the vehicle. I checked the photo that belonged to the registered owner. It did not match Mr. Strozier. He was adamant that he was the registered owner of the vehicle. Based on his clear deception that because it was not him, I had him exit the vehicle and he was detained in reference to giving me a false name.
And when you detained Strozier, were the other two individuals still in the car?
Yes, ma'am. I had them exit as well.
Okay. And so at this time, did you ask Mr. Strozier about the incident at on Frontage Road?
I asked him during my initial stop, and Mr. Strozier simply advised that they were leaving from work.
And based upon that, did you do any additional investigation?
Yes, ma'am. After detaining Mr. Strozier, I took a closer look inside the car from outside, and I could see there were several used Sawzall blades scattered all over the vehicle, the back seat, the front seat, the front driver floorboard. I could also see a glass pipe commonly used to smoke crack cocaine in the passenger side floorboard. Based on this, I detained the other occupants of the vehicle.
And I'm sorry, Officer Baker, where did you say Mr. Arnold was sitting?
The front passenger seat.
Okay. And is that where you found a glass pipe?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you mentioned some kind of a saw or blade. Can you describe what those were?
It's a Sawzall blade, so it's these were actually short, so they were short, maybe 6-inch metal blades with multi-teeth. They're very thin. They're made for an electric reciprocating saw, which is commonly used by catalytic converter thefts because they cut through metal very fast.
And where were these saw blades found?
The initial Sawzall blades I found were located all over the vehicle, just loose in the floorboard and the seat. There was several of them. Then after detaining and searching the occupants of the vehicle, every occupant of the vehicle had Sawzall blades in their pockets, various pockets, and they also had gloves in their hands or in their pockets.
Did any of the individuals in the car make any statements to you?
I read Miranda to both Mr. Shabazz and Mr. Arnold, and they both declined to provide a statement. I read Miranda and Mr. Strozier. He initially stated that he wanted to cooperate. When I asked him about the thefts, all he would state was, "You got me. I did it." And then he refused to cooperate further until he decided that he wanted to direct me to where they actually stole the catalytic converters. And I forgot to mention during the search of the vehicle, I located 3 large diesel catalytic converters in the trunk of the vehicle.
Did you go to the location that Mr. Strozier stated that they got the catalytic converters?
Yes, ma'am. I placed him in my vehicle and I drove him around until we located the incident location, which was 150 Penny Road.
Did you in fact see the vehicles that had been damaged?
Yes, ma'am. There were 3 large UTZ potato chip box trucks.
And were you able to get an estimate of damage to those trucks?
No, just based on my own knowledge and experience, I know it to be well in excess of $500. In previous experiences and previous cases, victims have advised me that it cost them over $1,000 to have the catalytic converters replaced.
And Officer Baker, I think you testified earlier, you've been with the Clayton County Police Department for about 10 years or so?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in that 10 years, about how many, I guess, arrests have you made related to the catalytic converters and the damage to vehicles because the catalytic converters were removed?
I couldn't say 10 or 15 arrests.
Okay.
But I've worked 50 or 100 cases.
Involving the catalytic converter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you stated that when you searched the vehicle, there were 3 catalytic converters that you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so with those, do those catalytic converters carry some type of value?
Yes, ma'am. They're stolen primarily for the precious metals that are contained inside. They're sold to scrap yards for a high amount. That's fractional compared to the amount that a business will have to pay to actually replace one of those catalytic converters with a new one. That it would total in the thousands.
The actual theft of the catalytic converters, what, if you can give, what is the value that you would estimate that those were?
$800 each. At least. I'm not exactly sure. I've never had to buy one of those catalytic converters.
Did all of this take place in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the 3 individuals that were in the vehicle, did they match the description given by Miss Merlene Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Pleasant?
Thank you. Officer Baker,
Yes, ma'am.
what description did Merlene Scott give of the 3 individuals that she allegedly observed?
3 black males, dark clothing.
And what kind of lighting is at this location where she made this observation?
It's a state-owned parking lot, so it's got tons of light. It's basically like a Walmart parking lot.
So 3 black males wearing dark clothing, no height, no facial features, no distinguishing features, nothing else, just 3 black males wearing dark clothing.
Yes, ma'am. She was looking from inside an office window, approximately 50 feet away from him.
Was she able to give any like body types or weights of any of the individuals?
No, ma'am, she did not.
Did she indicate whether or not any of them were wearing face coverings?
Not that I can recall.
So you stopped a vehicle with 3 Black males. What was Mr. Arnold wearing?
I can't recall what he was wearing.
And I believe he testified his position. He was in the front seat of the vehicle.
The front passenger seat, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he made no statements about any alleged crimes, correct?
No, ma'am.
And the vehicle that he was in, he was not the registered owner, correct?
No, ma'am, he was not.
And I believe you testified that you located 3 diesel catalytic converters in the vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
And where were those located?
In the trunk.
So the trunk would not have been visible to Mr. Arnold, would it?
Not at that time.
And the driver, you said that he told you he wanted to tell you what they did. Who specifically did he say they was?
He didn't specify.
Okay. So to your knowledge, they may or may not include Mr. Arnold.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
don't know if he was referring to Mr. Arnold, correct?
I do not.
Okay. And you testified that the catalytic converters you believe have a value of $800. What is that based on?
My experience in dealing with catalytic converter thefts.
Now, is the 150 penny the location for the box trucks? Is that
Yes,
a
ma'am.
physical business?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you speak to anyone at that physical business?
No, ma'am. It was midnight. There was no one there.
Okay. Did you attempt to speak to anyone the following day at that business?
I work overnight. I work 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay. So to your knowledge, has anyone in your department made an attempt to speak to anyone at the business located at 150 Penny Road?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so you have no information with regards to whether or not anything was actually taken from that business other than what the driver of the vehicle has told you, correct?
No, I observed the 3 trucks with the catalytic converter cut off.
Okay, but you don't have any complaint from anyone at 150 Penny Road with regards to their property? Any
I am
theft
not
of their
aware of
property?
one. I'm sure they called in the next day, but I am not aware of one.
Okay. And you have no information about any value of any items lost at that 150 Penny Road location, correct?
Other than the catalytic converters, based on my knowledge and experience.
No information from the alleged owners of the box trucks.
No, ma'am.
So as you sit here today, you have no proof that the owners of the box trucks did not give they permission to take anything from their property, correct?
I'm unaware of the owners allowing someone to come at 10 o'clock at night to cut catalytic converters off with a Sawzall. No, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Freeman?
No redirect, Your Honor. The state rests.
Okay, may Officer Baker be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, you're free to go. You can stay if you want to, but you're also free to go.
Thanks, sir.
Miss Pleasant, do you have any witnesses that you intend to call?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm assuming, Ms. Freeman, you're gonna hold.
Yes, stateway is
reserve?
opening. Mhm.
Okay, Miss Pleasant?
Judge, I'm at a loss as to where to even begin. We have an alleged theft, but we don't actually have victim because there's no indication that anyone has complained of any thefts to their business. You have the officer testifying that the driver of the vehicle said, I want to show you where they allegedly took items, but yet there's no effort by the officer to determine who they is that he is referring to. Mr. Arnold invoked his right not to speak to the officer. There's no indication whatsoever that he participated in any thefts whatsoever. There's no true value being given with regards to any alleged stolen items, as once again, there's been no effort to speak to any alleged victims in this case. You have saws in his pocket and you have a pipe at his foot, which has not been attributed to Mr. Arnold. Mr. Arnold has not made any claims of ownership. Again, he invoked his right. So this case lacks sufficient investigation, and I would ask that all charges be dismissed.
Ms. Freeman, before you begin, I do have a question as to whether there's a complaining witness other than the person that called from their window. Is there a person who your office knows of that had their catalytic converter taken and reported that as such?
Well, Judge, we have, only thing I can tell you is that from the report, it lists the, I guess, the owners of that business, the UTZ Potato Chips, and that is the owner there of the property. And so that is our listed victim.
Have they made any statement that our vehicles were compromised?
I do not have that in the report at all.
This is why my hair is going. I can't be like Mr. Rogers because my hair. Because this, I can look at this case and I can, as they say, there's like stuff that I can see all day. And Officer Baker, in my opinion, didn't do anything wrong. The one thing that I'm looking at in this scenario is who's going to be the complaining witness?
We could certainly be the property owner, Judge, and that's something that if the case is bound over to Superior Court, or if the case is accused or indicted, that is something certainly that after our investigators have it, if the property owners, the UTZ Potato Chips Company, if they indicate that whether they have contractors or other people who own those box trucks, then our investigators will seek them out. But right now, as it stands, our victim would be that property owner, the Potato Chips Company.
Your Honor, may I?
Yes, Ms. Pleasant and Ms. Freeman, you will get the final word. But this is the problem that I have right now is from been practicing law for 20 years and been around and seen things. I have one way of looking at this. From being a judge that have to follow the law and see where things goes, I have another way of looking at this. And I have to try to follow the law and not just what I may know. But with that being said, go ahead, Ms. Pleasant.
Your Honor, as I referenced, there's no complaining victim. There is no victim in this case because the owners of the trucks, the owners of this business, there's no indication that they have made a complaint that anything was taken from them. Certainly had there been an investigation on that end, it's a business. They may have had video that they could have given the officer. They may have had their own security situation that they could have provided, but none of that's been testified to here. There's even no value. This is a business. They would know what they paid for and what it's going to cost to make repairs. But none of that has happened in this case. There is just a guess by an officer who has made no efforts to reach out to the alleged owners of this property. I don't believe that this case can be sustained at this point, and I would ask again that these charges be dismissed.
No, I understand. And as a citizen, I understand exactly what Officer Baker is doing, and I applaud Officer Baker for what Officer Baker is doing, because, you know, it's a lot of stuff that happens. As a judge, I have to look at the law, and that's
Judge, I would say we are asking that all the charges be bound over. There is a theft by taking, the criminal damaging. We know that based on what Officer Baker stated from his experience and his number of arrests and cases that he's worked regarding the thefts of catalytic converters, he gave an estimated value of the catalytic converters, the drug-related objects, the glass pipe found where Mr. Arnold was sitting, as well as the possession of tools, all of the saw blades or whatever that tool is actually called, which he stated is commonly used to
the sawzall. Yeah.
Yeah, the sawzall. Okay.
The
So,
sawzall.
okay, so definitely, Judge, we're asking, we believe that there is enough for probable cause. Now, I do understand the concern about who's the actual victim. Again, we have a property owner, and certainly, you know, if the case is bound over to Superior Court, when that investigator is reviewing the case, if we need to seek out a specific person, he or she certainly will. But for probable cause purposes, we believe that there is sufficient enough evidence for testified to bind all the charges over.
There's currently, and this is where I stand. I believe Officer Baker received the call, had enough information to proceed to do a tier 1 stop and try to figure out what's going on. And he gathered enough evidence so that he believed, and I believe he, at the time, he may have had probable cause to arrest the individuals. The problem with, we'll just take it point by point, with theft by taking, criminal damage to property in second degree. Who's the victim? Who's the complaining witness? I have not heard that. And so certainly there's somebody out there. But I haven't heard that. Possession of tools during the commission of a crime, I believe I've heard sufficient evidence for that to be bound over. And the use of possession of drug-related objects from the testimony, and, you know, getting into the tier 1, tier 2 stop kind of area. But I certainly believe that there's enough testimony for that to be bound over. But that places us, possession of tools in the commission of crime, that's a felony, correct?
That is, Judge.
Miss Pleasant, this is a free-flowing discussion, but Miss Freeman is going to have the right to say the last word. If you have any input in this, I need it.
I do, Your Honor, because if there's no proof that a theft has occurred, then the possession of tools during the commission of a crime, there's no underlying crime for which they possess the tools to commit any crime, and in this case would be an alleged theft. Remembering that the officer was called to one location and they went to another location. So there are no actual charges from based on his testimony from the initial location. The charges are stemming from the secondary location, which is the Penny Road location. And again, there's no complaining witness victim with regards to those charges. So I don't believe that I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying I don't believe that there's a basis for the theft or the possession of tools. It's not a crime to possess saws.
The Sawzall.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let me push you on that, because the additional fact is that there are catalytic converters in the trunk
Mhm.
and Sawzall. So it's not just I'm at a construction site and I got these Sawzall. There's a call of, hey, I think something is going on. And so like I said, I don't
There's
blame.
also testimony that not my client's car, and that there's no evidence that he had any knowledge of anything in the trunk of the vehicle. Not his car. He wasn't driving. He wasn't in custody control of the vehicle, not registered to him. And there's no evidence that he knew about anything being in the trunk of that car.
I do understand that as a point to take to a jury. I understand that, but right now, that's not a point that would carry the day with me.
Okay.
And so
I'm just trying to answer the court's question.
no. Please. Thank you. I get smarter every day that you're instructing me. Ms. Freeman, you have the last word.
Judge, I don't really have else to add, but we're asking that all the charges be bound over. And I will say that the witness who contacted the police indicated that she saw the three males up under the F-150. I believe that with the seesaws that were located in the vehicle, as well as Officer Baker stated that all three individuals had one in their pocket.
The Sawzall.
Yes, the Sawzalls. That's the seesaws.
Yes.
And the catalytic converters that were found in the trunk. The driver taking the officer to the location where they took them. We believe that there is enough evidence, at least circumstantially, also for probable cause for the charges.
Okay. Well, Ms. Freeman, you have persuaded me. I'm going to bind all charges over to the Superior Court of Clayton County. I think the witness is going to be or the victim or complaining witness is going to be an important issue with the theft by taking and the criminal damage to property in the second degree. I have no problems with the use or possession of drug-related objects and possession of tools during the commission of a crime, because at the time that Officer Baker encountered these individuals, he had enough information to believe that there at least was enough information for a tier 1 stop and to engage in conversation, and then it just went from there. But that's why I'm not doing trials anymore.
And that, and we